Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me today. So today I have the pleasure, just making sure everything technically is working because we're going through Zoom, you guys. So just checking this out. Yep, it's working. I have the pleasure. So let me try that again to make sure we get that recorded correctly. So, hey everybody, today I have the pleasure of talking to Stephanie Weeks, who has gone through the Agent Goals process and got representation. And so I want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly of that whole story. And I'm really glad to have her here. And you need to know that seated at her feet is a little baby boy. Is it a boy or girl, your doggy?
It's a girl. Her name is Toni Morrison. She's a Yorkie. She's a Yorkshire Terrier.
Oh my God, her name is Toni Morrison. I love it. And so she
Yeah.
might give us a little snore once in a while. So we know that she's really living her
Sorry.
best life too. I love it. I love it. So Stephanie, first, just to kind of briefly get us up to speed with how are you right now? Where do you live right now? And how are you doing in the world right now? Just briefly.
I'm good. I am currently in New York. I'm from New York and I live here and I live in the Bronx actually. I'm quite busy because I'm a teacher and a director and in addition to being an actor. So I have geared up and teaching acting remotely, and I'm also teaching acting in person, and I'm also directing a couple of projects remotely. So I'm good, surprisingly. Yeah,
Wow. I love that you
especially
have this
in this
big
time.
creative, sounds like you have this big creative life in the middle of all this shutdownness. I'm going to just go off script for a second. And how is teaching in person for you?
Well, yesterday was my very first day,
Okay.
and here's the thing: like being with human beings and being in the room is so incredibly exciting to me and
Mm.
so healing and scary because of the time that we're in. And so I I feel like we took an abundance of caution. I feel like we were as prepared as we could have been, and we'll see what happens. We might end up going remote in the middle of the semester. I don't know, but to have this time with these young artists is incredibly valuable and inspiring to me because I realize what a gift it is just to be in the room with people.
Oh,
And so we try and hold that space for that. So yeah.
yeah, that sounds incredible. How old are the people you're working with?
They're first years in a BFA program, so I guess they're 18,
Okay,
19.
great.
Yeah, they're
Got it.
young.
Great.
Yeah. So there's
Yeah.
some people who are like in their 20s who are starting, but they're 18, 19. So
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
yeah.
And this is their first year in school too. So
It
this
is
must be
their first
oh, yeah.
year in school.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we have the whole masks on and everything, but they were game and I was game and more game than I thought I would be because I got sick pretty early on with COVID.
Oh, you did.
Actually, yeah. And so I actually got it when I was doing agent goals, and it was kind of crazy. I feel so grateful to be alive and to have overcome it. I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything, but I've never been sicker in my life. And so I just feel really grateful and I'm excited to be able to do my art and to share art with people because I realize that's like I feel like that's my purpose here is to do
Yeah.
art and to be um, a patron of the arts, a giver of the arts, a receive like everything, like just I'm a lover of artists, and I think it's really important that we share our work with the world.
Yeah. Stephanie, we could call it a day right there because I think you said everything that needs to be said. So, I mean, and I just want to make sure you hear from me an appreciation for you being out there and doing it on the front lines of being with artists who are so young and are having their first year at school, and how it's important that they have a leader like someone like you who believes that and can hold that space even in a time of wild discomfort, you know?
Oh,
And so I appreciate you holding that space for them and for all of us, because I'm 100% in agreement with you around we need the arts, we need the arts, we need the arts. And so this can be a time where it can almost feel, or it can be seen as frivolous or silly or not necessary. And it's just so great to see someone, walking the walk, talking the talk. That's not what I believe. I think that, but you can hear that, right? Yeah.
oh, thank you. I mean, I love. I mean, I read a lot, and there's this great quote by James Baldwin that he says, like, the role of the artist is to um, show us the gloom. Excuse me, to show us the doom and the glory of who we are and what we are. Um, and so, to me, now is the most important time to be an artist because we are going to reflect back to our to the nation, to the world of who we are at this time, the good and the bad. So it's important that we're present for it, that we're able to witness to it. You know?
I so appreciate you saying that. So as we're saying that, I just think about, one of the things that I know, any actor thinks about is, at least I think most actors clued into this listening right now are clued into what you just said, which is your purpose is the way we're going to change the world, your corner of the world and the rest of the world. And one of the ways, and one of the reasons why I think a lot of actors experience frustration around looking for representation or get into that anxiety around it is because it really why that is even part of your process is because you want to be on bigger stages and on bigger screens where you're going to have a bigger impact. Right. And so it isn't necessarily like, I just want to get an agent. Like that's not really what it is. It's really on the other side of what that agent can help you to do. And that's why I think it causes those neuroses to kind of come up and anxieties and all that. And so you just navigated this really beautifully. And so I wanted to have you share with some people so that anyone who's listening, Agent Goals is coming. And so this is to help you see yourself in, if it would be a fit for you, and also to see one way that Stephanie, how she made it work for her and where she was before and how it changed things for her. And so to just kind of start us off, share the results. Tell us how you landed your representation.
Well, I landed my representation about, I guess 2 weeks ago. It was a week.
Oh my gosh, so recent.
So recent. I had done the process, I didn't just pick, I was only going to target agents in New York. I thought when I initially signed up for the process, that's what I was going to do. But I ended up sort of there was something inside me that's been pulling me to Los Angeles, even though I haven't made that move yet. And so I had decided to reach out to people in LA actually first, before I even moved to kind of almost test the process. And it gave me information, and it actually gave me information to go back to my original intention, which was to send to people in New York. And that's kind of where I landed my bicoastal agent. And I felt, I was like, oh, the universe is actually speaking to me, because it's not just letting me be, it's like, you're not just going to be in New York, but you have a bicoastal agent, and that bicoastal agent is interested in representing you on both coasts. So how perfect is that?
Yeah, really great.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the beginning, what I'm hearing you say is you had done before even Agent Goals started, or I think that's what you're saying is you were like, I'm going to reach out in LA and I'm going to do a reach out to LA. And that was maybe your intention. And then in Agent Goals, you change your mindset around that a little bit. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
No, actually, when I signed up for Agent Goals, I thought I was only going to sign up for New York. And during the process, through Agent Goals, through the timing, honestly, Brian, you talk about this a lot, about divine timing, but also you talk about giving space, and so I did the program in however many weeks it was, and then I took a lot of space to think about what I wanted, think about, how things were going to align. And then from that place, I decided to reach out to agents in LA with the tools that you've given me, which were great. And and it was useful information and successful. And a lot of the agents were frankly like, wait until you're in LA, wait until you're in LA, wait until you're in LA. And that was the information I got. And I was like, okay, that's great information. Because for me, I try very hard not to think of anything, to not take it as negative or it's bad, but really it's this is information that's helping me to my next step. Right. So I was like, okay, so let me originally do what I was going to do, which is send to people in New York. And that is how I landed my bicoastal agent, who will eventually take me out to LA. Right. So La La Land.
Right. So I want to unpack a little what you said, because it's so exciting. And when you said that, we ran by this quickly because you were sharing it, but the divine timing of it all and the believing in the synchronicity of the universe and being on your side is so, what I hear you saying is, I had my way of thinking how this needed to go. And rather than be shut down by the drama of the no's that I was receiving, I took that as data, not drama. which is one of our mottos inside the course, right? And so so the information I'm getting is don't do that until I'm in LA, but something in the energy of you putting that out there attracted the agent who also wants to represent in both places. And then I also love the thing that I think you've tapped into here, which is we learn so much more by taking action than we do by thinking about things. So by you sending to LA, you got that information instead of sitting forever and be like, should I have reached out to LA? Should I have reached out to LA? Like it would have just gnawed at you like a bad dog at your heels, not a good dog at your heels. Like to just be like, should you, right? And so that it then flowered. And then the other thing you said that I thought was so good is you did the course and then you took some time. You said that. And I think that's such a big thing that people think about whenever they're signing up for a course is, do I have the time to get it done? Can I get it done in the right timing? Am I following the rules? Like, am I getting it done exactly when it's supposed to be done? And when you're talking about that, you heard me say this a million times, is that this course is secretly a personal growth course. You just happen to get an agent at the end, right? So I can't put the timeline on your personal growth, right? That's between you and the divine, whatever that means to you, right? And so while we will have, 8 weeks of class or whatever it is at the end of it, like there still might be growth that needs to happen before you reached out. So what I just heard you saying is you listened and would just increase your receptivity to seeing signs and being open and your readiness to then reach out. Is that kind of how that felt to you when you started those reach outs?
100%. And I will say, like, I am an action-driven person. Like, I am a doer. So I am that person, like I know that the module is there forever, but I am that person who showed up every single week. I did everything. Like, I had little check marks and I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this, because I'm the kind of person I like that. I like feeling like, okay, if I do X, then this is going to be the result. I'm that person. I like a module. I like just, okay, give it to me, blah, blah, blah. So yes, I did everything. Like, but here's the thing, what's so great about it is that you also build in the 8 weeks, like take some space, go for a walk, go outside. Like, and so all of those things, I was like, okay, it now says go for a walk, check. Go for a walk. And like that just doing that alone, I was like, oh, perspective, look up, wow, things are different. I mean, and also, I mean, at this time, currently we are in a pandemic, and so there's not a lot to hold on to, and so it was actually really helpful to hold on to things that I can do, like because everything felt so uncertain and so unclear. This was really useful for me because it did give me sort of a direction. And then after that, it was like, okay, then really take the space, because I needed to take the space. And so I was able to do both, which was really great, because it felt like, as much as I'm a doer, I'm also like very much of like, okay, someone show me, the divine is going to show me what's next, what's ahead of me, the next
Great.
step. So yeah.
I love that. Can you draw for yourself, and this might be a tough question, a straight line between how those built-in places to be with yourself along with the tasks, like a straight line to how that worked out for you, like in a meeting? Like how did that show up for you when you were in your meetings with these managers and agents? Is there a line you can draw there?
I think the straight line I can draw is because I took the time and the space to figure out what I wanted from an agent, and also get really clear. I think, like with you give guidance on sort of what they're expecting too, just with questions they might ask or anything like that. That I allowed myself the space to show up completely authentic, but I say that in quotation marks, but to be whoever I was, wherever I was, and know that that was enough.
Yeah.
Because I'd done all the work.
Yeah. Tell me how that connects to what would have been like before. Like, would you?
Sure. So I before I signed up for the course, I actually had a meeting with an agent. I would say maybe 2 or 3 months before I signed up for the course. And I felt uneven. I felt like I couldn't be myself. I felt scared. I was fearful. and I don't even know of what. Like that's so crazy. Like, what am I afraid of? Like, yeah, like, but I was fearful and I was afraid, and um, this even if at that time I could even check in with my my younger self, 8 months ago, and I felt like she would have said, Stephanie Wicks, you're not afraid, you know what you're doing, like, but I was afraid. I was afraid. um, um, and the person who showed up, was unafraid to say what she wanted. I was unafraid to say what I wanted, and to know that not everybody is going to want what I want, and that's okay. They're not the right people for you then. Yeah. But the people who do want you, the people who you want to collaborate with, because that was a big thing for me, is like I wanted agents who I could collaborate with, is that I got to show up ready to collaborate, and got to show up saying that I want that, if that's what I want, and making space for them to say, no, we don't want that. And if they don't, then they weren't for me. But what was crazy is that there were people who did want to collaborate, and then they were the people for me. And it was so exciting because I'd never had that before.
Yeah. I love what you're saying. There's kind of a through line that I'm noticing, because this is the third of these interviews that I've done. And this thing of like, I don't need anything when I go to this meeting, and I'm not begging for anything, that I get to be at choice here. And so do they. Please let them be. Please don't pick me if I'm not like, there's something very different than the first date jitters where you're the one with a crush. Like, please pick me. Please say you want me, right? It feels like that's what I'm hearing you describe here. And this is a very much more empowered. And also, like you said, I say authentic without the little quotes, because like, that's the real you. And so they actually are saying yes to the real you, not the puffed up, pretendy version of you that maybe you were in that meeting before where you thought you had it all together, but there was the fear thing. So you were like showing up in a special way or trying to, or something, right? Yeah. Awesome.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. And like, I mean,
what was that laugh?
The laugh is, I think I don't even know where I've seen this, but I think you were holding it up, and you were holding up books somewhere. But I am a huge fan of Elizabeth Gilbert's Creative Living Beyond Fear. And she talks about sort of like fierce trust. Mm. And I feel like that's how I showed up to these meetings, with like, look, I may not be the person, or like that we might not be a match. And that's okay, because I trust that there is the right match out there for me. And part of that is showing up however I am going to be. And whoever's going to accept that, whoever's going to be willing to collaborate, that is going to be exactly who they are too. And it's going to be the right fit.
Got it. I love that. Tell me, so you had a few meetings too. You didn't just have one. How many meetings did you end up having?
I had 5.
Okay, great. Congratulations. Yeah. That's awesome.
Thanks,
and can you tell me, of the 5 meetings, obviously you chose one, and you got to choose. Is that right? You had more than one. Right. Yay. We love that. Can you tell me, so I want to kind of connect the dots to showing up at the meeting and the work you did beforehand, because there's something that I noticed with the other conversations I've had, where when they got to the meeting, the people kind of already knew who they were because of the way that they presented themselves beforehand in their email and in their materials. Did you see any of that connectivity? And can you just kind of explain it so people would understand what the heck I'm talking about right now, if they've never heard this, if this is the first interview like this they're listening to?
Sure. So, part of Agent Goals is you send out an email, and the email is like, basically I guess it's your quote unquote pitch to them, but it's like you put yourself out there, and and you also give them the materials to back it up. So you give them the headshot, the resume, but you also give them tape, whether that's self-tape or reels. You might give them reviews. You might give them like your castability, like things that you might be right for. So you give them all the materials, and then they respond back, or they don't, or there's a whole process. But I felt like the material, I felt so good about the material I sent out that there wasn't a doubt in my mind that not that I wouldn't get any responses, because I just knew that I would get responses, but that
Wait, slow down.
yeah,
Stop there for a second. That certainty that you knew you would get responses, where did that come from?
I think I think throughout the course, like you talk a lot about, like, I guess about like divine timing, but also about putting that energy out there. And so for me, like, I knew that I didn't know what kind of response that I would get, but I knew, but I did know, but that putting this energy out there in a really honest, genuine, intentioned, offering kind of way, I knew that I was going to get a response back. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know where it was going to come from, but I knew that I was going to get a response back because my intention was to, what I'm offering, I believe is worthy and is worthy of, you know, a relationship, a collaboration that takes me to another level. And so because of that, I just knew that. I just knew it. I don't know, like, so.
But Stephanie, wait, I want to stop. I'm going to interrupt you guys because such a good, I love the language you used there. So I just want to grab it real quick, which is you said it was an offering, that I was offering this, that it was like, here is something if you like what you see here. And what I'm hearing you say is, in the way that you prepared and however you present with the materials you put forward, is the fullness of you is in the offering. Right. And so it's a little bit like, oh, you don't like mashed potatoes? Great. You don't have to eat these mashed potatoes. This is the best mashed potatoes I can make. So if they're not what you want, great. Here's something, pick somebody else's mashed potatoes, whatever. So there wasn't a attachment to your self-worth being inside of the offering. Yeah. And you're nodding your head very vehemently here. I want to make sure you guys are catching that, because I think that's so important. Is one of the things that I want to tap into that you just said is, it was something around when you said that was authentically you, but the other piece that you're just kind of unattached to the response that you get, that if it's, you knew you were going to get one, and that certainty you have around that feels, in the course, you know, I'm really focused on it being making it easy on the people who are hearing from you. And so I think that sometimes we think of it like, please pick me, is the attitude that is maybe the way we used to think about reaching out to managers. And to me, it's like, help them figure out who you are, because then they'll be able to say no really well, and they'll be able to say yes really well. Because what I really hate is like silences for you, because silence is nothing, right? I really want some no's. No's to me are like a really great sign that you've done something right. Did you get some no's?
Yes, absolutely. And what's really great is that the no's were also, they were awesome. Like they were super generous and loving. And like one of the no's that I received was really awesome because I had, like, in my email, like, I don't want to be like, I'm not at all, I'd done a reading with Tilda Swinton. I'm not braggy at all. Like, but like and her agent actually wrote back to me as one of the no's and was like, hey, Stephanie, I'm so busy right now, busier than I've ever been, but I think, like, I wish you the best. I know something's going to happen for you, and I'm, you know, look forward to when it does. It was like one of the awesomest no's, because I didn't at all expect like that to happen and like any of those things. And it was like really, it was really lovely. But I got a bunch of no's, and the no's it was great because I took it as like, there's a little part of you that's like, oh, but then there's also part of like information. Great. It's not them. It's not them. It's not them. Great. It'll be someone else. And there's no hard feelings. Like, everybody's human, and you said this in one of the courses where you're like, not everyone's going to say yes to you, and you're not a child. You can hear no. Like, I'm not a child. Like, nobody's a child here. I've heard no before. We're in an industry where there's a lot of no's. What are you going to do? Crawl into a corner and let that be the end of you? No, you move on. You get up. You say, okay, like, they said no, and then you move on to the next person. Like, yeah.
I love the way you're saying. And so my question also is, you probably got some people. So inside of the system, there's, or the program, there's a, you know, how to follow up with people if they say no, and how to follow people if they say, give me some more information or tell me later. Did you have a few of those different people? Like, I need more information, or tell me later. How did that follow-up process feel for you? Because I always feel like that's a dangerous place for people, right? You're getting some no's and you're getting some tell me some mores and you're getting some yeses, but in that weird mix, that season of reaching out to agents can be like, I heard some no's and now they're asking for more. It can feel a little disoriented, I think might be a way to describe that. What was that like for you? How did you move through that? I mean, you're effortlessly graceful, even in this conversation right now. So I'm sure it's going to be something around be graceful, but I want to hear, how does it internally, let's say?
Yeah, no, internally it's challenging because you're like, I put all of this out there and you want more. but that's also part of it, is that like, I put all this out there, I gave you that and you want more. Okay, all right, let me give you some more. All right, and then you go and give them more because they need more information to make their decision. But that's also information for you. At least for me, that's how I took it. It was like, I had people who asked me for more information. I gave it to them. They wanted more tape. I gave them more tape. And they said it takes them 2 weeks to review tape. So it took them 2 weeks. And then they came back and said they wanted more tape. And I was like, and they wanted more tape that was like more subtle. They wanted like something a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more grounded. And what's really funny is like, that was in my EPK. So what it told me was that, oh, you didn't watch the tape and from the EPK. So how am I going to be with people who don't watch the materials that I give them to begin with? So that was information for me.
Whoa, that is such good data over drama moment too, because you could so easily make that about my materials weren't correct and I didn't do the right thing, but you literally, like, they're not as detail oriented as I want someone to be for me. That's what I'm hearing you garnered from that. Is that right?
Absolutely. Right. It was like, look, I don't want to be with, well, I also was like, why does it take you I was like,
so I hear some judgment coming. Go for it. Go ahead and say it. Go ahead.
Like, okay, it takes you 2 weeks to review. I mean, I know we're busy, but also 2 weeks to review. People are making decisions. People need, not everybody's time is like, I don't necessarily have 2 weeks to wait on you. And in that time, I actually had other meetings. I had the meeting with the agent that I ended up signing with. And who knows, like, I ended up telling that agency that asked for more tape, I was like, thank you so much for reviewing all of my materials, including the material in my APK, and I've gone a different direction. I wish you the absolute best. And they wrote me back being like, we wish you the best too. But like, I could have had a meeting with them if they, if they
for sure.
Right. Or if they got their stuff together in 2 weeks, but they didn't. Right. So, so I ended up being, going exactly with who I'm supposed to be with, but that's the information that I learned, know?
I love that. I love that you turned that into a moment of learning. So if you had to identify like one specific part of agent goals that helped you the most, what would that be and why do you think?
I think it would be, what do you want from your agents, and then how do you need to show up in order to get those agents? So I guess I don't even know what it's like. It's like a mentoring. Do
you want some help? Yeah, as the author, I can help you out here. So, please. How do you? So, to have the relationship you want with your agent, how do you need to show up? Right. And so what I think, and I don't know if this appealed to you at all, because it might not be tested yet, because it sounds like you got really thoughtful after you had your meetings to decide who you want to sit with. But the question I always want to ask actors is, do you like who you're able to be when you're around that agent? And if you don't, then you know that you're going to get weird down the road, because you have to think about, you're going to be on set one day and they're going to say, you have to smoke a real cigarette, or we're going to do 6 more hours. It's not paid for. Are you okay with that? Like, and you have to be like, am I going to feel good about calling my agent in this moment and saying, I'm in a crap situation? Like, so how can you kind of, not that I'm hoping you have crap situations like that, but I'm just saying, like, we need to be able to feel like you got a place to communicate from as a human level. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And so that was really, I feel like that to me was the most valuable. I mean, there was so much that was valuable, but, Bird by Bird was also super valuable. Just that line alone.
Tell them what that is. You're the second person who's brought it up. I'll tell you.
Yeah. I can't remember. There's so many authors. Who's it by?
Yeah, it's Anne Lamott.
It's Anne Lamott, right? Yeah. You bring it up at a moment where like there's you had given us a lot of assignments,
Yeah.
and you had told us this anecdote by and the mop, but the end of it was bird by bird, which is just one thing at a time,
Yeah.
thing
One
at a
thing at a
time.
time.
And I kept being like bird by bird, if I do this one thing, that's going to lead me to do this next thing. So because the whole process can seem very overwhelming, all of it, like from the beginning, because the beginning of it is so, it's truly coming from a place of vulnerability. And so
wait, talk into that, because I think when someone hears that, they're gonna be like, oh my God, it's so much work. But what you're actually saying is there's personal work to be done here. And I don't think that's the way anyone expects this course to start. I think they expect me to say, well, I mean,
yes,
if you know who I am, then you know that's not how it's going to go. But I think they expect me to be like, okay, here's how you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
that's
8.
right.
And to me, there are certainly courses that can do that out there in the world. But for me to be aligned with my purpose, then it has to be around you setting up a lifelong career where you're stepping into yours. And to me, that was attracting the right person. And so that first module is, it's like, okay, can you give a little insight on what that little first module
Yeah,
is?
it's so scary, because you essentially have to tell your acting story, and you have to share your acting story with people, and then that helps distill it down. Everything is a little bit of a distillation to get to sort of the thread that's going to be in your email. But that alone, just telling your acting story, it's scary because you kind of have to live the quote unquote ups and downs of your life as an artist,
Yeah.
and what brings you there. And I don't care whether you're the most famous person in the world or you've never done acting in your life, like any kind of vulnerability around anything where you're sharing and talking about your art is vulnerable, is scary. And so that was
Or
one
it's
of the,
not worth it. I mean,
oh, exactly.
or you're not being real, or you're not being true, because
Yeah,
it's good. Making art is creating. You have to be willing to. You're going to get your ass kicked if you decide that art is your thing. That's a
that's
Brené Brown really
totally.
bad paraphrase, but that's what
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
that's right. And then to share it with other people, even more so. Like, so that's, I mean, for me, that was huge. But the thing I also keep saying to myself, which has been a huge mantra for me throughout this process, that is just nothing changes if nothing changes.
Mm.
So, you know, before this process, like I think I've been I've been operating a certain way, and it has only brought me to a certain point. And I have no idea. I think it was the divine that literally threw you in my path, because I have no idea how I found agent goals. I really don't. I don't know if it was like like I'm rarely on Facebook. Maybe it was the day I picked up Facebook. I don't know if it was like, I have no idea. But like somehow like I found it and was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And it was definitely scary because I'd never done it before, and I've never done anything like that before. And I thought, okay, well, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
If I want something different in my life, I need to try a new approach. And then I said it throughout the course, because all of it, that first module is highly uncomfortable. And I kept saying to myself, well, nothing changes if nothing changes. So
Yeah.
I need to show up differently if I want a different result.
Yeah. And I think that so many people find what that last module does. It's like the last module and the first module and the last module are, and at the beginning and the end of the arc, because now it is, how do you show up as that person in the meeting, which is what you described earlier. It's like, how do you show up as that full person who believes in the fullness of yourself and the worthiness of yourself in that meeting? And I feel like you may have answered this question, but, and maybe you can or maybe crystallize this. What do you feel like you learned about yourself in this process? Because you're already an evolved person. You teach acting, like you're already someone who looks at herself, obviously. What do you think in this process was a new learning?
Gosh, it's so much. It's sort of hard. It's kind of hard to it's hard to articulate. I feel like putting yourself out there in a real way, not in a faux, fake way, not in a way you think they want to hear, but in a way that rings true for you. I feel like that is the gift. And I feel like it's the gift that keeps on giving, because I feel like just that alone of just, I truly feel like that email, I talked with it about some friends, like I'm framing it because it doesn't feel like it's just an email. It feels like, for me, it feels like in a lot of ways a manifesto. And so I feel like it, the course really taught me to put it out there, to really put yourself out there. Because again, not everybody's gonna love what you have. That's okay. That's the other part of it. It's like, that's okay that not everybody loves it. Like, not everybody's it's art. Nobody's gonna love everything. Like, not everybody's gonna love everything that you do. And nobody should, frankly. Like,
Right.
everybody has a, like, that's taste. It's fine, but if you show up and put yourself out there truly, you meet people that I believe that I feel like I've met people where I can be myself and I'm not worried and I'm not in fear. Like, I'm not, like, I don't feel fear around my relationship, which is a big thing, like I'm, I don't know if that's clear, but
oh my gosh, I think it's so beautiful. You said, I can't believe you're framing your email. That is like the most beautiful thing to hear someone say. That really like lights up my heart, because my heart's wings today. Like, thank you for saying that. It's great to hear you say it.
I mean, also because like I felt like even like the tweaks that I felt really good like when
I remember when I got your email in the program, just so you guys, I'll give you a little transparency here. Everyone, you write this email that's based out of your life story and it's blah, 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 blah. But at one point, everybody's email goes through my hands and I put final tweaks on them. And I remember yours was really close to done when I got yours. I don't think I did a lot to it at all.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
But that's right. Like, that's the thing. Like, I felt really good about when I submitted my email to you. And the email that I got back was just like, it was just like the gold touches on it. Like, it like went from like an A to an A plus because it invited me to truly own my power,
because what you're saying here is so important, because I forget, even as the man who made this thing, right, that there's the moment when you send your email to me and then I go in and I do little fix this, do this, and it comes back to you and you can see the changes I've made. And what you're describing is the physical experience of seeing those changes and what it does to you, because I've said, oh wait, you can go even, you're bigger than what you're 90 and you're 5'10" and you only came up to 5'9" just now. Let me take you the next inch. And it's like I'm Santa Claus for when I get to work on people's emails. But the point of it is what you're saying is how you did such a beautiful job inside of it of doing the work so that you could show up with an email that was that strong. I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
No, but that's right. And like, and it's so funny because it's like, sometimes it's just a word placement and you're like, whoa. Like, am I really saying that? Am I doing that? Yes, I am, and it's like, and that's what's so exciting. You're like, wow, like that was really thrilling when you're like, I thought I showed up 100% and he's saying I'm 110%. And you know what? I am 110%. And that was what's really, you're like, wow. Like, and so that was very thrilling for me, like that process. Yeah.
Good. Awesome. We're almost done here. I really appreciate you giving your time, just really sharing, just commercial break for you for a second, for being so authentic in sharing what this was like to be on the inside. And especially as a theater artist who's teaching other theater artists, that you know, as a person who teaches, I don't know if you go through this, but I can go through like, what's this teacher going to teach me? I'm a teacher. I can get a little big for my britches at times when it comes to that, which has not helped me at all. And it's also one of my ways of learning. I think I can be skeptical and then I find my way in. And that's a lot of people learn that way. In fact, Caroline, who was the interview before this one, she learns that way. She's even talked about that. But as a teacher and having hear you say this experience, what your transparency around what it was like to be a student inside of here just is really, I think, helpful for people to see. We all feel this way around trying to put ourselves out there. We all have this, can I really show up as big as I am? Is it okay? And then the other part that I think is really the trick of it is, how do you put it into language? Sometimes it's not that easy for people. Just having the right words for this doesn't come naturally all the time, because it's so you, right? If you were writing an advertisement for the hummingbird feeder out my window, you probably would be able to do really great language for that. But when it's about yourself, it can be a little bit itchy, a little sticky, harder to do, right? So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
So just to kind of sum us up here, I'm sure there's a lot of actors who are watching or will watch this, right? Or listening. And they were where you were at the beginning before you started Agent Goals. What would you say to them?
Trust the process. Trust the process, but also like, you don't have to know the answers. You just have to take the next step. Like, you don't have to know how it's all going to shake down. I feel like I could tell you, I think I know what I want. Like before this process started. And what I have now is it's a different, yes, I have an agent, but the result is not what I expected. And just to allow for that, to be open to something really, to allow for the surprises that come along the way and the magic that can happen. But to just take it step by step, because it can feel like overwhelming. And there is a part of me that's 100% skeptical that's like, is this really gonna work? Yeah, all right, Brian, show me how it's gonna work. And like, he has this whole Q&A process and I don't ask questions. I literally just showed up and was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and because Brian promises. I mean, he doesn't necessarily promise, but like he says that that's gonna happen. So I'm gonna do it, and I don't need to ask any questions because he's gonna say. But I also don't ask questions because I get shy around that. But also I didn't have any questions, and a lot of people asked other questions, which was great. And Brian says this, and I really appreciate it, which is like, see yourself in the question that's being asked. And so I feel like I put myself in all the questions that were being asked. But so there's room, you can ask, there's room for questions along the way. But I would just say, take it step by step, and you're probably going to beat yourself up. You're probably going to lose sleep. Like, you are going to cry. Like, all of those things are checked. Like, those things happened in my process. Maybe that's not going to happen in your process, and I wish you well, like, good for you. But like, I didn't sleep. I like was crying a lot. I went for a lot of walks. Like, I didn't know what I was doing a lot of the time. And then I just took it bird by bird, and, results happen. So, and I genuinely couldn't be happier. Like, really, really, really.
I'm so happy, Steffi. When you say that, it makes me feel like, oh no, what did I put her through? But I'm hearing.
I think part of it is like, when you do any kind of self-reflection, it can be tough, and you do ask us to self-reflect. And I think if you're doing it, the work is fragile, and it's tough because we're dealing with our ego, and we're dealing with putting the ego aside and dealing with our true self, and then telling the ego, thank you for trying to protect me as I learn this process, as I go through this process of wanting something more than I've wanted before, or wanting something different than I've had before. And so it's scary. And so because of that, I was like, oh, I want to get this right. And then trusting that I don't need to get it right. I can just take it. I can get this line right today, and then go for a walk, and I'll be fine. So, that's what I mean. It's just like, it's that kind of looking inward, and even just admitting to yourself what you want. That is scary, to say like, you know what, this is what I want, and giving yourself the trust and the courage to say that you get to have that. You get to say that. You get to be able to say that.
Please, Stephanie. I mean, what you're just saying, I think, is why I see so many people who are burned or wounded from agent hunts in the past, is actually because, well, maybe I'll just get an agent and that'll be good. Like, and so they have a search that even within the search and the effort they're putting in is like, just so I can get one. And and so the energy is, they kind of get one, and it's not the one. And then it's a year wasted, and then it's 2 years wasted. And then it's the actor who sits across from me and says, I think I'm going to give up because I've been in LA for 10 years. And then they recount a little bit of their story and say, oh my God, all these things you did that actually weren't as big as you're destined to be. The other stories you've picked up along the way that have kept you small. Right. And so what I just hear you saying is, you got to take a very fierce inventory of yourself at the beginning of this course. And so depending on how ready you are to do that, you know, one of the things I always say in the course is I'm not looking for your readiness. I'm looking for your willingness. So your
Yes.
willingness to look at yourself is all that it takes in the beginning. Willingness to say, okay, what has held me back in the past? What has gotten in the way? And where have I really showed up actually? Because it's not only about the crap stuff. It's also about like, whoa, look at that thing I did. Look at that thing I did. Identifying all
Yes.
those things along the way. So that's such a huge piece. This was a delightful conversation for me, Stephanie. Is there anything else that you didn't get to say that you wanted to say, or you want to ask me or anything while we're here together?
I don't think so. I mean, I just, yeah, I don't know. I'm just really thankful. And I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Like I actually wanted to write you earlier to be like, what can I send you something just to say thank you? Because the process has been, it was an incredibly tough process, but I feel so at peace with my decisions and my result, that I've never felt that way artistic business wise, you know.
Yeah.
I've never felt that way. And so to feel that way is so nice. It's such like a nice, warm, settling feeling. And so I'm really thankful for that. And thank you for that. Because it totally has shaped how I move forward too, you know?
Speak to that a little bit. I think people might want to hear that. What is that when you say it's shaped the way you move forward? What is that when you say that?
Well, like, for example, like, okay, so my agents wrote me last week and they, like, what did they, like, I had some auditions last week. Great.
Yay.
But, yeah, great. Yay. Very happy. And, I don't know. I'm not coming from that place of fear. So like my conversations with my agents don't feel like I'm trying to do anything other than our work together and our collaboration together. There's no drama around it. It is like, okay, like this is our relationship and this is, you know, this is quote unquote what we've signed up for. And part of one of my goals for the course was to have an agent where I feel like I feel that I've landed with, that I can feel like I can stay with for a long time. Because I have had agents in the past and it's just not been the right fit and it's felt shaky, on shaky ground. This doesn't feel shaky, it feels long term. And so because of that, even our emails just feel like, great, like we're working. I'm not trying to read into anything other than what the information is given to me. And then we move on to the next thing, or then I go on and figure out my syllabus for class or whatever. I'm not weighed down by that. And so I feel like data, not drama, super helpful in just how to move forward. Like just, and how to put yourself out there has really helped me just in general of just like, okay, I'm going to send this email out to, I don't know, an industry person or whatever. How do I want them to feel? And what is it I'm trying to offer? Like just that alone is super helpful, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And Stephanie, I want to just really make sure that we testify to you landing with the right people and attracting those people is such a testament to the work you did on yourself and inside the course to be clear, not only internally, but explicitly on what you want. So both in language and on the inside, so that when you had those meetings, you could tell, is this the person that's going to communicate the way that I can keep out of my mishigas and out of my crazy thinking when it does come up? And also that I'm really asking the universe for who I want to show up. So it's a real testament to the work you did. That work when you were having a sleepless night and all that is a testament to how you showed up and that you attracted it. So I just really want to compliment you for, you know, someone asked me a question about the program a couple of days ago, and she was saying, you know, I know that I could be someone who might want to get itchy around the self-growth stuff because I know it's going to be, I don't know if I'm going to want to do it sometimes. And she said, I want to skip to the to-do list sometimes. And I said, you have to take it seriously or it will not have serious results for you. It'll have toy results for you or plaything results for you, not serious results. Right. And so that's really up to the student, the actor inside of it. So I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much for this conversation today, Stephanie. Really, this is the gift that you can give me for having a great time. Is just being able to hear you talk about it in this way. You know, it's a long journey to have a course like that put into the world, and to hear that it has changed not only the moment you have with your new reps, but the way you're thinking about yourself in the business is, to me, the long-standing gift that it gives you. So I just really appreciate you saying that and sharing that with me. That's a gift.
You're welcome. Thank you. I really mean it.
For sure. All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and everybody for tuning in today. We wish you a great, beautiful day, and I'll see you again soon. Okay. Bye-bye, Stephanie. Love you. Be good.
Bye.
Bye.